In this video, I'm going to discuss the second example or second situation you will encounter when simplifying radicals. Three types of radicals you will encounter. I'm going to do the second one right here. Non-perfect squares. So these solutions are irrational, meaning that when I take the square root of the number, it doesn't break down to an even number. It would break down to a decimal and it would go on forever. So let's look at example 1, square root of 32. Now again, I would always check on my calculator to see if it is a perfect square, especially if you don't have them memorized. But in this case, in this case, the square root of 32 is 5.6568, and the decimal keeps going. So this would tell me then, after I did that step, to break it down in a factor tree, just like you were doing when you found the greatest common factor. If I was going to break this down, again, you can use, if it's an even number, you can always use 2, but I would try to use a number bigger than 2. It just helps speed up the process. So I'm going to use 32 divided by 4 is 8. So 4 and 8 are factors of 32. So far, so good. I break it down to what's called prime factorization, meaning you can't break it down anymore. 4 can break down to 2 and 2. 8 can break down to 4 and 2, and then finally this 4 can break down to 2 and 2. Now at this point, I've completely broken down the number 32, or the square root of 32, as much as I can. From this step now, after I've done the prime factorization, I can't break anything down anymore. You need to get to this step. And I need to be able to see this work before I can answer any questions. So I need to have you do the factor tree. At this point, I look for what's called pairs. And I'm going to circle them. At this stage, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 number 2s. So I have a pair of 2s here, and I have a pair of 2s here. This 2 does not have a pair, so that is becoming very important to become aware of that, or just be able to see that. Now, when the numbers are pairs, the way I think of it is, let's consider this radical up here to be a jail cell or something. In order to get free, you need to have a partner to leave the jail cell. And so anytime that the number has a partner, it can come up out of the radical, and then if you don't have a partner, you have to stay inside the radical. So in this case, and when you come out of the radical, you stay just as the number itself. So there's a pair of 2s here. That comes out as one pair of 2s, or 1, 2. All right? This pair of 2s also comes out as another 2. And then what's left inside the radical is this single 2 that didn't have a partner. Please consider, I do see a 4, and I see a 4, and I see an 8. But again, I broke them all the way down. So all I care about is the numbers that I broke down completely, because this 4 became those two pairs, or that pair of 2s. And this 4 became these pair of 2s. And so I can't go back to those 4s. I have to revisit these 2s here. And so at this point, this pair of 2 came out as that 2. This pair of 2 came out as that 2. If numbers come out together, what happens on the outside of the radical is that they multiply with each other. So it becomes 2 times 2. So my final answer of breaking this down is 4 radical 2. Now, please remember, anytime you take the square root of a number, I talked about this in the previous video, you have to do the positive version and the negative version of that answer that you get. So my final answer is 4 radical 2. Now, for example 2, it's the same thing. If I was going to look at this, the first step I would do always is check it on my calculator. It does not come out evenly. Alright, so that means that I would have to break it down with my factor tree. 75 ends in 5. Hopefully, if you see a number that ends in 5, you know that 5 is a factor of it. 5 goes into 75 15 times. So 5 times 15 is 75. 5 can't break down anymore, so that stays there. 15 can break down into 5 and 3. And now I am done factoring all of these, all right? So at this point, I would look for pairs. In this case, I see a pair of 5s right over here. So remember, a pair of 5s comes out as the number itself, and then this 3 is left inside the radical. And don't forget your plus and minus. And I am done simplifying a non-perfect squared radical. So at this point, you would be successful in doing this.